everyone, and welcome once again to the Powerhouse Woman Show. I'm your host, Monica Pierre. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been thinking after I booked this show and to go live and talk about this topic, I've been thinking a lot about the women in my life who have straightened my crown. The women in my life who have told me, you go for this, you can do this, spoken my name in rooms where I wasn't in, and just were adamant about something happening for me. The women who tell me that I am the Monica Pierre and that I should never forget it. That's our topic today. We're talking about what it means to be a woman who straightens the crowns of others. And I'm so excited. In fact, I am joined today by the one and only, the ultimate crown straightener, best-selling author, speaker, founder of JNC Innovations, and creator of Lead Her Ship, the one and only Jackie Satera. Jackie, welcome to the Powerhouse Woman Show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, just so it's your second time on the show.
Yes.
Met you last year in Chicago, and you're just one of the people you want to get to know, you want to be around, and you're just magnificent. So when you go on LinkedIn, one of the words is crown straightener. So we're going to get into that, what that means. But let's begin. We always begin with a backstory and our guest backstory. You started the bulk of your career in higher education.
Correct.
Talk about that journey and what was the moment when you decided that you were going to go from being in higher education to being in your own business and creating what you really wanted?
Yeah. So I worked in higher education on the student life side of things for about 20 years. Never thought I would leave. I worked in housing, specifically in residential life, and I considered myself to be a lifer, doing it forever. And then one day it just shifted. My life shifted. And, super long story short, I fell out of love with it.
Wow.
And the joy wasn't there. The happiness wasn't there. I was not excited to go to work, and I was one of those people, and I still am, like I work to get things done. And, if that means after 5 o'clock or whatever the case may be, but on Sundays, I was not looking forward to Mondays. It just took a 180 turn in not a great way. So I was looking for happiness again, to be joyful, to live a joyful life. And I've always done event planning and specialty gifting. And I actually had some women that really pushed me to take the leap to start my own business. And, almost 2 years, it was June 2024, and I haven't looked back. It's been fantastic.
I'm so intrigued by you described it as that you fell out of love with it. And I don't think we wake up one day and say, well, I'm no longer in love with this. What were some of the things along the way that got you to the point where you said, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Not sure what's next for me, but I don't want to do this anymore.
I think honestly, it was a lot of little things that were happening over time. And then it just became too much all at once. And that's where the falling out of love with it happened. So I wasn't excited to continue to do that work. And I didn't really know what was next, which was very, very scary because anybody that knows me knows I am a planned person. So leaving a job without having another one lined up was pretty terrifying. But, I'm thankful and blessed that I have a great support system, family and friends. And so, it was scary in the beginning. And then as time went on, it became a little less scary.
Right. My mother used to call that a good job. You were going to lose your good job or say, end your good job. So we're so glad you had the courage, and thank you for sharing that, because that's some of the things that people, and particularly powerhouse women, don't want to share, that this no longer is the path. Let's go into our topic, and that is being a crown straightener, or a woman who is the straightener of crowns. First of all, what does that really mean?
So, it could certainly mean something different to people as they're reading it. But for me, I describe it as a woman who sees the greatness or potential. I think that that's important in another woman. And I think it could be right in life in general. It doesn't always have to be in work or in a career, right? Because we're all busy in our own ways and life looks different for all of us. Some of us are working in the corporate world, some of us are entrepreneurs, some of us are taking care of young kids or aging parents, and right, but you're doing work and everybody needs support in what they're doing, whatever that looks like. And so I think when another woman can lend a helping hand, it's magical.
Yes. And we also on the show, the Powerhouse Woman Show, believe in giving people credit, attribution,
Yeah,
out of news.
absolutely.
So we quote, if I have a quote, I don't want to think that's my thought, but share the time you first saw that or heard about Crown Straightener.
Yeah. So I back in last summer, June 2025, I was a part of a women's conference, Thrive in 2025, and I was running the logistics. So beforehand, I was connecting with some of the women on LinkedIn, and one of the women specifically. So shout out to Dr. Casey Lacey. When I saw her, I was like reading the descriptions and what people are doing, and I was like, crown straightener. I saw it on there, and it just stuck with me because I'm also all about women supporting women, right, in life. And so I got to meet her in June and having a conversation. I told her, I was like, oh, I saw that on your LinkedIn and I love it. And I agree. Right. We were just like vibing and talking. And she's like, girl, you can use it too. And I was like, thanks, I will. And so then I, like copy and pasted it from her LinkedIn to mine. And she's an amazing woman. She's also a great example of a woman who supports another woman. And we share actually a similar story because she has a background in higher education as well, that she left to follow her dreams and passion. So shout out to Dr. Casey Lacey.
A double shout out. We've had Dr. Lacey on our show. I'm going to get her back on. Word up. I'm going to be contacting you. Be prepared for that. Let's talk about how we begin to do that. Because I've always hated the notion that the world says women don't get along, women don't support each other. And the time has come to stop the nonsense and to stop buying into a narrative that does not support us, that is no more true than all men, liking each other or not liking each other. How do we deal with competition versus connection? What are your thoughts, particularly if a powerhouse woman has bought into the notion or the narrative that there can only be one, and if you're already in the room and someone else comes in, you're on your way out?
So I think it's hard, right? Like I think because, I always say, right, I'm all about women supporting women, but not every woman supports other women. Just like there's plenty of amazing men out there that support women, but not all men support women, right? So I think part of it is, you got to find your people and hold on to them really tight, because when you have them, truly magical things happen and support starts to look different. But for me, in this, I want to read something so I get it right, to answer your question. So I think this idea of competition, right? We need to throw that away. Let it go, because there's space and room for all of us. And so this is what I'd like for people to take away. Never forget that another woman doing what you're doing is not competition. She is your sister. Support her, encourage her, and believe in her.
Wow.
And I think it's tied into all of that, right? Like I used the word potential earlier. And I think, right, if we're thinking about like ages and generations, right? Like thinking about the younger generation, one of my favorite things to do is pour in to young women and mentor them, which turns into sponsorship. And so if I see somebody that, we were just chit-chatting about like work ethic and initiative, so if I see something in somebody and that potential is there, I take them under my wing. I don't necessarily wait for them to ask to be a mentor. I just do it. I have tons of women of all ages that I would consider, right? I mentor them, they mentor me in a certain way. And I think that's part of it. So create the space and bring them in.
Right. And once we start to reject this whole notion that women don't get along, can't get along, it will never happen, I would say to our powerhouse women, you have the gift of discernment. You know who you can trust. You feel it. You know who means you no good, but you also know who means you good, and you can be the example as well. So it's just one blanket, I don't trust, or everybody's fine. That's not discernment. You have
Sure.
discernment. Let's pivot and talk about your this business that you have built as an entrepreneur, JNC Innovations, and it's basically taking what you've already was doing, because no one can take your intellectual capital, right? No one can take
Mhm.
who you are, Jackie. So how did you decide that this is where you were going to go? This is going to be your lane, and you were going to curate experiences.
So I am an individual. I do not sit still well in general, right? Like, yes, sometimes I'm on the couch watching movies or whatever the case may be, but generally speaking, I'm not just doing nothing, right? I'm always doing something. And so over time, I've always had side hustles. If so, I've worked for catering companies, I've worked for wedding venues, and then in my own personal life, I've planned the baby showers and planned the bridal showers and bachelorette parties and backyard barbecues. And over time, everybody would say, you really have a knack for this, or whatever they would say, you should really consider doing this for a business. And I would always just be like, you're right. I'm happy to do it. It makes me happy and it brings me joy. And then, when I started to fall out of love with my career, this just seemed like it made sense of where to go. And one of the pieces of my business in JNC Innovations is I started a conference, a women's conference called Leadership. And I started it in the higher ed world, actually. And when I left it, I was able to have conversations and bring it underneath my name and my brand, which is awesome. And I just had the 5th annual, which is so exciting. I can't even believe it. So it is absolutely an annual conference. So I hope that everybody that's watching, we can stay connected so you can come next year. And men are welcome too. Men that, support women and want to learn how to show up for women, because I think that that's important too, especially in the corporate world or wherever you work. And so for the leadership story, so when I was doing it, I did it at a college for the first 2 years. And another woman who is also, a rock star, I'll say crown straightener also, Shigs, you all may know her.
Oh
She was
yes.
a speaker who's amazing. She was a keynote speaker for me. And when she came, it was in person, and she was like, Jax, you got to take this show on the road. Right. And again, and I'm just like, like it's here, it's in the higher ed, right? Like, what does that even mean? Right. Like, what does that mean? And here we are. So she's a big part of why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And I'm grateful and thankful for her.
Another crown straightener. All right. Shout out to Shigs and all that you're doing, all your edge work as well. And we've had her on the show too. So I'm just going to. I'd like for you to offer a little support or things to keep in mind, because I know when you said you started your own conference, that struck a chord in our powerhouse women who are listening, because they too are doing movement. They too are going from moment to movement, creating something that's more than what they're offering at the moment. What are some of the suggestions or tips, and how do you get support when you are doing your own conference for the very first time?
So I'll do a little selfless plug.
Sure.
I am an event planner and an experience curator. So if you truly don't know where to begin, you let me know and I can help you. I offer end-to-end logistics, just sourcing venues and locations, doing the decorations. There's all, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all package. So happy to chat with anybody. But I think the most important thing to keep in mind if you're taking the leap or starting something new is you have to believe in yourself. Maybe not like all in every day, right? Like I always say, right, you got to find a little bit of like joy and happiness in every day, because maybe every day can't be full of joy and happiness, but you got to find a little bit in every day to kind of keep you going. And the same thing, right? Like some days might be harder than others to believe in yourself or wanting to keep pushing forward, but you got to do it. You make your task list, your to-do list. And right, if you can't do it all in one day, you just tackle one thing at a time. Making connections is really important, knowing who your people are, who can connect you. For me, thinking about being a crown straightener and things that people can do too, if you want to like add that to your list or your LinkedIn profile, think about somebody today that you can straighten their crown. What does that look like? Send a message of encouragement, right? an inspirational message. You can share their work if they're doing something really great. Super easy. Invite them into a space, open doors for them, right? And as you're thinking of what you can do for other people, don't forget to also have the courage and confidence to do it for yourself.
Oh, that is amazing. This is worth the price of admission right here today to get that information from you, Stephanie. It's amazing. What is coming up? We know next March 2027 is the next Lead Hership. Anything else in addition to people working with you, especially if you look, I just want to have a great event and I don't want to have to worry about everything. What else is happening in your world?
So another part of my business is I curate gifts for people. So if you are looking to gift for any of life's celebrations, whether it's birthdays, promotions, retirements, housewarmings, graduation is coming up, I can help with all of your gifting needs. And if you want to stay connected, my website is the easiest way to do that. It's my name, JackieSatera.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter and you can see all of the other things that are happening.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing what you have created in this world, and saying yes to being on the show again. We really do appreciate that. And thank you so much, because this is what people need to know, right? They need to know that we can create a new narrative. Yes. We can create a new story when it comes to women supporting women, women finding their community, women doing what they need to do and find these words. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hold on just a second. And I want to thank you for joining us today. Number one, who has straightened your crown? Who has adjusted it? Who has reminded you that you are the whatever, that you are a gift, that you've been given gifts? And the second part is allow yourself to straighten their crown as well, someone else's crown, because you think it's no big deal to send a text. You think it's no big deal to send a word of encouragement. As Jackie said, it is. It is. And if you've been sitting on a moment, if you've been sitting on something that you really want to do, if you've been sitting on whether or not it's time to tell your story, now is the time. And I want to invite you to learn more about the Storymaker Academy, where we help people, women in particular, not exclusively, there's some men in our program as well, tell their story. Because guess what? Now more than ever, your story is important. Your story matters. And you are the best person to tell it. We'll talk to you next week on the Powerhouse Woman Show. Thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.